What's going on, guys, and welcome back to Top 5 Scary Videos. Yes, it is Halloween, so this video I'm embodying the beef flavored ramen noodle because everybody in the comments likes to talk about my neck and somebody called it a noodle neck, so you're welcome. Here we are. We've made it. We fully did it. Also, this is way better than chicken flavored. The beef flavored, if you guys do chicken flavored over beef, we have to have an argument right now. We're fighting. Some classics are a must watch this week, of course. Now I know my favorites are Nightmare on Elm Street, like the first three, and then Halloween Town 2, Calabar's Revenge. Those two are always my favorites. Polar opposites, but definitely still a good time nonetheless. Some horror movies I try and avoid altogether. Maybe it's a rotten sequel out of the bunch that you're just okay with skipping, or maybe the movie itself caused cast members to die in real life tragic ways. You heard me. I'm Taylor McWatters, and here are the top 5 horror movies that should never have been made. Now before we dive in, make sure your notifications are turned on. That way when we drop any premieres, you don't miss them and we can all hop in the comments together. Let's get counting. And number 5, Poltergeist. So what happens if you made a movie using real bones instead of prop bones? Well, you get a lot of spooky Yeah, I'm talking about the 1982 classic Poltergeist movie. The movie where the two leads, Diane and Steve, played by JoBeth Williams, and Craig T. Nelson, aka Mr. Incredible, they straight up roll and smoke weed in their bedroom while they're reading, like to go to bed. Like as if you could do that while your kids are in the next room. Hey, maybe the Poltergeist movie never even happened. Maybe they all just got super baked and then thought that stuff was floating around, but really they were just like upside down or tripping out, whatever. If you haven't seen the original version, you owe it to yourself to give it a watch at least once. I mean, it's honestly like disturbing in a way because nobody actually dies in the movie, but they die in real life. So, the history rather, behind this movie is bone-chilling. The actress who played Diane, JoBeth Williams, said in an interview that while they were filming, she would have to go into this huge tank of what she thought were plastic skeletons and mud, but later found out that those bones were real bones of deceased people. Well, obviously, it'd be kind of weird if some guy's like, hey, can I get my arm back? Thanks. Am I getting paid extra? Yeah, because real bones were cheaper and production saw nothing wrong with this idea. Nice. So she spent like 5 days filming with human bones. I mean, talk about going method, my God. And that's not even the creepiest part. I'm just getting started with that one. 4 cast members ended up passing away during and after filming. Not just 1, 4, including the main little girl, Heather O'Rourke, at just age 12. So many people have drawn lines connecting these random tragic deaths to the fact that they used the remains of real people to film a movie. See, knowing these things while you watch it just adds more goosebumps to the mix. The film itself is aged, it's fine, it's kind of cheesy to watch now. There's one part where a guy's peeling his face off, and I dare you not to look away. Like, it's clearly fake, but it's so horrible to watch. Like, the movie's lore and like the scenes itself, it's just an off-putting plot. Like, if I have to pick some movies that shouldn't exist, I'm gonna add this one in the mix, hands down. If for some reason you loved this classic movie, they did a remake in 2015, but if you loved the classic, you're gonna hate the remake. I can almost guarantee it. Number 4, Burdemic, Shock and Terror. Okay, I have to add this one because it's too funny to ignore. The terrible plot, the editing, and the acting are just a few things that make this low-budget horror, if I can say that, horror, a bust. Released in 2010, I can't believe it's been 10 years now, wow. Burdemic, Shock and Terror tries to tell the story of a quiet town in California, where a horde of killer birds terrorize the town. It's like the 1963 Hitchcock classic, The Birds, except not even close. This movie is actually really funny. Like, it's an absolute waste of money, and I can't believe anybody signed on to do this movie, but man, it is hilarious. And some of these shots are just way too long. And they come out of nowhere too, like in the middle of an action scene, this guy's trying to unlock his car. Like, that's just way too many tries. He's like, ah. Come on. Like, it's just too, like, just cut it in half. Like, this is very weird pacing. You're barely even trying to open your door also. Like, crank it, man. This movie actually had a premiere and everything. It had a small theatrical run for like 4 months in LA and Toronto. And I wish I saw it. Actually, no, let me tell you, if I paid for a ticket to see a low-budget cult horror movie about birds, and then I walked in and saw this, I would be pretty upset. If you're gonna tell a story, at least look into getting, I don't know, a tripod, so I don't feel nauseous the entire hour and 45 minutes during this movie. Also, that's way too long for a movie with a budget with $10,000. There's not much you can do. Make the movie 50 minutes. Make it a pitch, make it a short film, and just see if anyone picks it up. The audio mixing is so distracting in this movie as well. Some parts you have to crank your TV volume up super loud, then the next scene your eardrums are blown out of your heads. If you have almost 2 hours to kill and you want a lesson on how to waste 10 grand, give Burdemic Shock and Terror a go. And if you for some reason loved the film, you're in luck because Burdemic 2, The Resurrection has twice the amount of budget and twice the amount of laughs, appropriately. Number 3, The Boy. Who doesn't love babysitting a creepy doll? I mean, what could possibly go wrong? As we've seen from Chucky and 1,000 other movies, a lot can go wrong. The Boy, directed by William Brent Bell, released in 2016, is about a young American nanny named Greta, played by Lauren Cohen, and she's amazing. Lauren Cohen is outstanding. And she gets hired for a job in this remote English village to take care of an 8-year-old boy. Okay, sounds cool so far. Sounds like a pretty sweet gig too. That is until she discovers that the boy is actually just a life-sized doll of a child and not a real child. Okay, cool. So she responds by laughter, of course. I mean, she just signed on for a job and then realizes that it's a cruel joke. Everyone's in on this joke. Let's laugh. I'd laugh too, and also I'd cry pretty hard. Because let me tell you, this doll isn't exactly welcoming appearance-wise. So yeah, she has to watch this doll. That's the gig, that's the only thing to do, but she has a super strict set of rules to follow. So Brahms, which is the name of the creepy boy doll, is referred to as a living person up until this point. So the lady that hired Greta even said that he didn't approve of other nannies. So off the bat, this is wild. She's like, oh, I thought it was a real person that didn't approve. Let's talk. The parents of the boy treat him like he's still alive, tucking him into bed, talking to him, like it's chilling. So she calls her friend up from the house and she explains how this family is messed up and what's going on. There's even a massive family portrait on display. Like, how is everybody acting so normal about this thing? So Greta's friend tells her just ride it out, encouraging her even to stay. She mentions that somebody had come by looking for her and Greta says not to tell him anything about where she went. So clearly she's in a spot where she can't really go home, or at least she feels unsafe to do so. So the situation isn't too negotiable. She decides to stay and read to a doll. Whatever, can't be that bad. Now, of course, things escalate and get scarier and scarier and weirder. But Lauren Cohen's performance alone is enough to make this far-fetched story believable in some sense. The story, tons of plot holes, doesn't make any sense. The concept they're going for just doesn't work. Like, there's no way all of this would play out the way it did. She wouldn't just do this job. She would question the food scenario for once. Just a lot of dumb in this movie. Like, I put food down and then it's gone. Someone's eating it. I know I'm the only one here. I'm getting the f out of this place. There's a lot of dumb in this movie that's masked by Lauren Cohen's great performance. Like, she doesn't overdo it at all. She actually reacts for the most part how I would. Straight up laughing in the face of the family after they show her their son doll that they love so much. I would do that too, I think. But also the rules that she has to follow, these are important rules, as most rules are. And those rules are no guests, don't cover Brahms' face, save meals in the freezer for him so he can eat, read a bedtime story, dress him, help him with his studies, no loud music, and always kiss him goodnight. Like, no, she would never agree to this. Nobody would agree to this, no matter how much money. This is clearly serial killers are a thing. These are obviously psychotic people. Like in horror movies, insane people exist, right? Like, it's not just a bunch of people walking around like, sure, yeah, I'll sleep with your doll, let's do it. Oh, nice, 80 bucks? Deal, hot deal, let's do it. And number 2, House of Wax. Jared Padalecki, Paris Hilton. This movie should be beating Avatar in the box office right now. What went wrong? This 2005 horror had a lot of hype surrounding it, and it's a remake of the 1953 classic. Starring Jared Padalecki, Alicia Cuthbert, and yes, Paris Hilton, House of Wax follows a group of friends heading to a football game, of course, when suddenly a flat tire mixes up their plans. Of course, it's always a flat tire. Inevitably guiding them to their collective demise as a group. So they stop in a town called Ambrose that feels as creepy as it looks and begin asking for help to get them back on the road, to get to their football game. One thing leads to another and they end up getting chased down by 2 psychotic brothers who have a thing for killing people and candles. Yeah, they're really into wax. The film as a whole is fine. I mean, it's okay, whatever. Some sequences are genuinely pretty scary and tense. They made me give out like a sigh of relief after it ended. Like that one scene in particular that has to do with something What about a finger over here? Yeah, it's awesome. But the reason I included this in the list is because House of Wax, the acting didn't hold up at the time, and it certainly doesn't hold up now. After rewatching it, I mean, this movie was filmed in 2004. There's no CGI really, like it wasn't there yet. So they had to use a lot of practical sets and effects as much as possible really to express the horror themes in a movie driven around, well, I mean, wax. So you have to do some wax stuff, and it's cool. With a budget of $40 million, 40 million, they made it look pretty good visually. But the acting just reminds you that you're watching a 2005 box office bomb. That's a pretty huge budget. I feel like if they'd picked a couple better actors or they changed something up with the story like a tiny bit. This movie was so close to being great, but it's just too cheesy to forgive. So if I had to get rid of one movie, this would definitely be on that list. Somehow it made $12 million opening weekend, but I mean, only went downhill from there because people are like, yeah, it's not good. And finally, number one of my favorites ever, Jason X. Okay, space movies are usually a perfect setting for thrillers. The fact that any little thing, any little screw that goes loose can just cause catastrophe sets the tone pretty easily. I mean, you would think space plus psycho killer equals spooky, right? No chance for this Friday the 13th installment. Jason X, of course, had some hype behind it. I mean, this is the 9th sequel. This is the 10th installment of the classic series. The usual locations that take place, like Crystal Lake, were just out of the picture for this 9th sequel. I wish I could have been in that meeting when they were figuring out what to do next. They're like, all right guys, some dude's like pointing up. He's like, we gotta go up there. I think we wanna mix it up. We gotta go up there. Moon Crystal Lake, let's do it. The opening of this movie, right off the bat, feels like the opening of a bad X-Men movie. Like it's some old rich guy with his backup guards, they got guns, they're walking in like the spooky underground place, and he's like, yeah, his regeneration is outstanding. We gotta do tests on him. And then push turns to shove, and shove turns to shotgun, and boom, Jason gets launched into space. See you, dude? The space stuff just happens to open with one of the worst ways to go, in my opinion. So Jason grabs his first victim, and might I add, he really grabs her in a not so chill way. Like, watch the hands, man. Can we choreograph this? I mean, being a little bit grabby there. And then he throws her face first into liquid nitrogen and then smashes her now frozen face to bits. It's super gross. Like, it looks like you just dropped one of those rocket popsicles, just like red, white, and blue chunks everywhere. Ugh. That's like the one good part of this movie, okay? The one good part. The rest feels like a parody, or it feels like a high budget adult film. One of the two. If there's one of the Friday the 13th movies to pick to slash out, this one takes the cake. Okay guys, there you have it. Which horror movie did you wish didn't exist? Let us know in the comments down below so we can avoid them as much as possible. As always, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel and that your notifications are turned on by the time you click exit to this video. So when we do our live premieres next, you guys know that we can all hop in the chat and talk about my noodle neck. I'm Taylor McWatters, and we'll see you next time. People on this talk about my noodle neck, so now I'm Mr. Noodle Man. All right. So some classics this time of year are a much what? So some classics are a much, I can't read it again, it's great. The movie where the two leads, oh, sorry about that. I was gonna put Mr. Noodle pieces like on my face, like I brought the pack, but I'm like, yeah, it might be too messy. Here we are. Do I have any sleep particles in my eyes? Ooh. Oops. Beef. I ordered this and it's actually like super soft. Like I'm gonna wear this in other videos maybe. Like it's got a hood too. Yeah, the hood's too tight. Can't breathe. These are important, as most, Jesus, of the classic theory. The classic, am I asleep right now?